So, what if you could actually remember everything you learn? We're going to dive into a super powerful system, one that's inspired by some of the most effective learners on the planet. You know the feeling, right? You put in the hours, you've got your highlighters out, you reread everything, but the next day, it's it's just gone. It is so frustrating. But listen, it's not your fault and you are definitely not alone. There's actually a scientific reason this keeps happening. Get ready for this number, because it's a bit of a shock. Research shows your brain is basically wired to dump nearly 70% of new information within just 24 hours. Yeah, 70%. Your brain just sees unused info as clutter, and it is ruthless about cleaning house. And this whole process brings us to the villain of our story. Seriously, there's a name for this thing, and it's the silent killer of almost everything you try to learn. They call it the forgetting curve. So what is this thing exactly? Well, the forgetting curve is this model that shows this insane drop-off in our memory. It's a completely natural brain function, sure, but it's also a trap that makes most of the ways we traditionally study totally inefficient. And just look at how fast it happens. The biggest, steepest drop is right there at the very beginning. You can walk out of a class feeling like you've completely mastered a subject, and by the next day, poof, most of it has just vanished. After a couple of days, you're left with just little fragments. And this is exactly why our usual methods just don't work. I mean, rereading and highlighting feels like you're doing something productive, doesn't it? But to your brain, it's all just passive background noise. It doesn't send a signal that says, hey, this is important. It's basically the learning version of mindlessly scrolling past an ad on your phone. So how do we fight back? We fight back by studying smarter, not just harder. And the first weapon we're going to pull out is a technique called active recall. Think of it like this. You're going to train your memory like a samurai trains their muscles through focused, intense effort. Okay, so here is the absolute key. Real, lasting learning doesn't happen when information goes in. It happens when you force your brain to pull that information out. It's the difference between watching somebody else lift weights versus you picking them up and lifting them yourself. This really breaks down the core difference. Passive input, reading and watching. It's easy. But it creates these weak, flimsy memories. Active output, forcing yourself to remember something. That's harder, but it builds these strong, tough mental pathways. Every single time you struggle to recall something, you're not failing. You are literally strengthening that connection in your brain. And the best part? It's actually super simple to do. After you've studied something, just close the book. No peeking. Then grab a blank piece of paper and try to explain the concept to yourself. Write it all out. It's going to feel difficult, and that's the point. That struggle is what forges the memory. Then you can go back, check your notes, and fill in the parts you missed. Okay, so active recall is the what. Now, let's talk about the how and the when. Because it's not just about retrieving information one time, it's about being consistent and using really strategic timing. And to do this, we're going to pull from two really powerful ideas. The first is about breaking huge topics down into these small, manageable, bite-sized daily steps. And the other is spaced repetition, which is all about reviewing that info at the absolute perfect moment to lock it into your brain for good. This quote just nails the whole idea. It's not about some heroic 8-hour cram session. It's about making these tiny, consistent 1% improvements. Over time, that compounding effect gives you mastery without ever feeling burnt out. And this is spaced repetition in action. I love this analogy of the gardening technique. You review the material just as you're about to forget it. It's like watering a plant right before it starts to wilt. That first review after 24 hours, absolutely crucial. It stops that big initial drop. Then you just space out the next reviews, pushing that memory deeper and deeper into your long-term storage every single time. This whole method of using small, consistent steps is actually part of a much bigger philosophy called Kaizen. It's the principle of continuous improvement. So instead of these overwhelming bursts of effort, the focus is all on steady, daily practice. No stress, just constant, steady progress. And it all comes back to this one little number, just 1%. Can you be 1% better today than you were yesterday? That could literally mean just 6 minutes a day. 2 minutes of active recall, 2 minutes of spaced repetition, and 2 minutes of focused practice. Do that, and in a month, you're over 30% better. It's crazy. But look, having all the best techniques in the world, it's only half the battle.
The other half is your mindset, your ability to get into that state of deep, uninterrupted focus. And in Japan, there's a concept for this. It's called shu. The character itself actually combines symbols that look like a young bird practicing how to fly over and over again. It represents that flow state where the outside world just disappears and you become completely absorbed in what you're doing. This isn't just about trying to focus. It's about creating an environment and a ritual that actually invites focus.
So how do you actually do it? Well, you create a ritual. Have one single spot that's just for learning. Put your phone in another room. Seriously. Maybe you always use the same specific pen or play the same instrumental song. These little things are triggers, and they tell your brain, okay, when this happens, it's time to lock in.
All right, let's put this all together. We've talked about the problem, that dreaded forgetting curve, and a whole toolkit of solutions: active recall, spaced repetition, Kaizen, and the shu mindset. So really, this all brings us to a choice.
The path of cramming and forgetting, it's familiar, right? But we know it's frustrating, and it just doesn't work. The other path, the one we've just laid out, is all about working with your brain's natural systems, not fighting against them. It's about being smart, strategic, and efficient.
At the end of the day, learning isn't passive. It's like getting good at a sport or mastering a video game. It takes practice, strategy, and you've got to be an active participant. Getting the information is one thing, but taking action, that's everything. So the final question is simple. Which path are you going to choose?